The Pirates won another series over the weekend over the Chicago White Sox, but it came with a price. We're going to take a look at that, take a look at the week ahead with Gary Morgan today here on the Locked On Pirates podcast, brought to you by So Rare, Ultimate Baseball GM, and Rocket Money.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Alrighty, everybody. Welcome back to that Pittsburgh Pirates podcast. My name is Ethan Smith, your host of the Locked On Pirates podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Joining me with a voice that is not at full strength after being at that thing that we would call a baseball game on Friday is Gary Morgan, to my right as always, every single Monday during the year. Hopefully everybody had a phenomenal Easter weekend, and the Pittsburgh Pirates had a phenomenal Easter weekend, winning yet another series. So, as I told Gary before we started here today, I think we're both very happy that we were wrong about our record prediction for the week. If you guys remember, we both predicted 3-3 for the week. Pirates go 5-1. Obviously, though, and we'll just jump right into this because I'm sure this is what everybody wants to talk about because it's going to be the talking point, Gary. It came with a price. A unfortunate baseball play happened. Oneil Cruz, you could even tell, and I'll even shout out to my mom if you're listening. My mom from the jump. I don't speculate about injuries, but this is a woman that's worked in the medical field before. As soon as she saw it happen, she said he broke his ankle. Comes out to like 2 hours later, he fractures his ankle. I'll start by saying this. Don't place blame on anybody. Don't do anything stupid to Sebi Savala. Don't say anything you would regret saying, because it is not his fault. It is not Oneil Cruz's fault. It is nobody's fault. It was an unfortunate baseball play that ultimately now me and Gary are going to talk about the falling dominoes behind it. And one of the things I think that we could start out with here, Gary, is one, fractured ankle, you don't know how long he's going to be gone. I mean, like, nobody really knows that answer.
Well, we don't know how fractured it is,
Yeah.
If it's a hairline, you could be talking a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
If it's, a full-on fracture, 8 to 10? It's not season ending probably, I would imagine, unless it's like reconstructive bad.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody that really says anything right now is probably a little irresponsible. Most important thing is a fractured ankle tends to not be season ending. It doesn't mean it's going to be fun.
No. And especially with this team right now, where the beginning of this entire season has been very fun for this team outside of that first weekend. I mean, we see them go to Fenway and sweep the Red Sox. We see them get a series win in a bunch of different ways. Again, that's a sticking point I've had throughout the first 9 games so far, as this team has proven they can win games in different ways. They can either explode offensively or have outings like we got from Johan Oviedo, where he goes almost 7 innings of scoreless baseball. Do you expect to get both of those all the time? Probably not. And now when you're taking Oneil Cruz out of the fold, you have to start thinking about lineup construction again, because he's been the leadoff guy every single game. He's been their guy there for that entire point. But unlike past years, Gary, and you kind of reiterated this to me earlier today, the Pirates have options here. It seems scary, but they have some things that they could do with this lineup to supplement while he's gone.
Well, nobody's going to directly replace Oneil Cruz. I mean, that's the first thing to understand here. Nobody's saying that these options are anywhere near as sexy as what he can do. But, you do have some options, even internally. You could move Rodolfo Castro over there. We were just talking this morning on Twitter about it's an issue that's brewing underground. You want to give Castro a good long look here and get him some at-bats. Well, it was getting hard to find at-bats for him. Mm-hmm. Here they are, wrapped up on a silver platter. Stick him at shortstop, get him the at-bats. G1 Bay can pitch in there too. play second base. It allows you to get Kane Smith and Jigba and Jack Sawinski in there a little more often out in the outfield, because now Bay isn't competing for time out there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple things they can do there. There's a couple call-up options. You could go with Marcano. He's been killing it. Honestly, in AAA, he's coincidentally been playing shortstop, and that would move Piguero up to AAA most likely, to get back with his old double play partner, Nick Gonzalez.
Mm-hmm.
So, hey, that's a domino that you might have had to wait for that maybe you won't now. Mark Mathias is an option. I mean, there's a lot of, they could do Travis Swaggerty. If they decide Ji-hwan Bae is just going to come into the infield permanently, they could go with Travis Swaggerty. There's a ton of things they could do here. None of them are going to replace Oneil Cruz, but all of them are things that I think pretty safe to say we were going to have to wait for a minute.
Oh, yeah. With the way this team was playing so far, I mean, there haven't been too many guys that you could sit there and say he shouldn't be in the lineup. There haven't been guys. Obviously, we're still 9 games into the year, and you talked about getting a long look at Rodolfo Castro. When you see all these different lineups every single day, Gary wasn't really kidding when he said you're going to see a bunch of different lineups from Derek Shelton. I don't know about 157, like he said on opening day, from your tweet that you had the day before. But you're going to see a lot of different lineups from Derek Shelton because Ben Cherington needs to get looks at these guys. He needs to know what he has in a guy like Ji-hwan Bae, Rodolfo Castro. And then, obviously, by the way, you mentioned Tucupita Marcano having a great start to the year. Indianapolis in general is having a great start to the year. If you've been paying attention to the AAA level for everybody listening, I believe they actually just picked up their 5th win of the season in a row on Sunday. So that's some things that are going on there too. But that's where I think it feels a little different. And you reiterated it as well. Nobody's going to replace Oneil Cruz. I mean, it's just not going to happen. One, no, but none of the other options are 6'7". That's the first starter. They're not going to look like Oneil Cruz or even come close to the production of what he gets. But you could also look at it into a sense of if they do bring up a guy like Marcano or bring up a guy like Swaggerty or however they want to do this, if you could somehow get a combined effort from these guys that kind of gets to that point of where Oneil Cruz was, then I think it's fine. But I also don't think right now that people need, I understand. I'm also one of the people that said Zavala should have been ejected from the game, as I also thought Carlos Santana should have been too, just because of the reaction that he had and the reaction that was given back and all that stuff. But, this season's already had everything. We had all those pitch clock violations and hitter violations in the Saturday game that I didn't watch that I heard about. You had, sweeping at Fenway. There's already been so many things to talk about. And we'll talk about some more things from this weekend as well as some other ideas about what the Pirates will do while Oneil Cruz is gone. And if you were presented with your star player being injured in Ultimate Pro Baseball GM, how would you handle it? Well, you would have that choice that Ben Cherington currently has that he has to make starting tomorrow, because Pro Baseball GM is the coolest game I've played in a long time. I've always thought I could be a great Major League GM, but it turns out it's not all that easy. If you had the same thought and have fantasized about managing your own franchise, go and download Pro Baseball GM immediately. You get so many parts that you get to manage through strategic aspect of a franchise to build a historic dynasty, all of it in a challenging and realistic game world. Ultimate Baseball GM is completely free and playable offline. Play on the go as you want and when you want to. And Locked On Pirates listeners get a 100% free boost to their franchise when using the promo code Locked On in the game store. So make sure to check it out. To download the game, just visit probaseballgm.com, scan the code, or look it up on the app stores. That's probaseballgm.com. Ultimate Baseball GM. Start your dynasty today. And as you heard in the intro, we also are brought to you by Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. Over 80% of people have subscriptions they forget about, and chances are you're one of them. Like that Stars app just to watch one show, or that free gaming trial you never actually used. Rocket Money will quickly and easily find your subscriptions for you, and for anything you don't want, to pay for anymore, just hit cancel and Rocket Money will cancel it for you. It's that easy. Over 3 million people have used Rocket Money, saving the average person up to $720 a year. So I'm just going to go ahead and say Bob Nutting probably uses Rocket Money. Stop throwing your money away, cancel unwanted subscriptions, and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/lockedonmlb. So again, despite the Oneil Cruz injury, tons to like here. Again, there's also things not to like, so we'll get into both of those sides. But Gary, what did you like? One, you were there in person for that first game, which, Jesus, there was like a million things to talk about in that game. But what did you like over the entire course of this series?
I mean, first let's backtrack and just look at the whole picture. 6-3.
Yes.
6-3 is a legitimate great start for a team like this, and that's a confidence boost to a unit that just got dealt a pretty heavy blow today.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine if they were 3-6 and that happened?
Oh, yeah.
The feeling in that clubhouse right now. Now, it also good it happened early in the game. They were able to recover from it, and I think show that they can pull together and win this game even while they're shell-shocked. And Johan Oviedo was great. I think what I've learned from this series in particular, Ethan, is the Pirates are going to have to make a conscious effort to use strategically their off days here to find a way to separate Hill and Velasquez in that rotation.
Yeah.
They're both almost guaranteed short outings, even if they are on the good side of what they can provide. And I think it's just an absolute promise to destroy the bullpen once every 5 days doing it this way. Separate them by Oviedo if you must, but find a way to use that extra day off and just creep the rotation into a different place.
Yeah, and that also on top of that, with you mentioning Oviedo's start today, very important that he did that. Because if we would have had another short outing to deal with today, well, this is coming out on Monday, so we're recording it on. You guys know this already. I don't know why I'm explaining this to you guys. You guys know this already.
We've told you about the fourth wall about 100 times now.
Yeah, so it happens. But yes, in the game on Sunday, Oviedo, of course, having that start was very important because Friday, obviously, offensive explosion for both teams. The bullpen has to do some work. Saturday, again, I can't say much about the Saturday game. I didn't personally watch the entire game or in any capacity. All I know is that Vince Velasquez got put out, I think, before the third inning. So that means that's 6.5 innings of work for the bullpen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, Ethan, there's calls immediately for DFA, but Rich Hill's going to give you this sometimes. That's what you just saw him do. It's what you're going to get from him. That's going to be the play every once in a while from Rich Hill. And then every once in a while, he's going to go out there and shut the other team down for 6 innings and give up maybe 2 runs, keep the team in the ball game. I mean, there's 2 sides to Rich Hill. He's always been this way. It's not like he just hit some imaginary wall. This is what he does, and he doesn't change. Vince Velasquez, on the other hand, I think is showing you actively why he's a bullpen guy.
Mm-hmm.
He has to use all 4 of his pitches immediately, right out of the gate, just to get by. And you do that through the entire order, well, you kind of don't want to have to face them the second time through. And most of the time, that's where he's getting punched in the mouth. That's Vince Velasquez. That's why he's a bullpen arm at the end of the day. This is where the JT Brubaker injury really hurts. Because you could be having a conversation about moving him to the bullpen and bringing in Oviedo right now.
Yeah, and that's you talked about opportunities that we didn't otherwise expect to have for some of these guys with the Oneil Cruz injury. The JT Brubaker injury just did the same thing. If JT Brubaker was healthy, Johan Oviedo would not have pitched today. We would not have seen him pitch 6 2/3 innings with no walks, 5 strikeouts, and no earned runs, and have a very, very good outing. On the other hand, Vince Velasquez is a part of this rotation right now, But I'm also here to tell everybody, too, anybody that you want brought up right now for Vince Velasquez, sadly, isn't going to be much better at this current state, of mind. They're just not going to be. As you've mentioned before, Gary, Luis Ortiz, he looks fine. His fastball is MLB level already. He's not going to live off of that, though. What's he going to do? Throw the fastball every single pitch? Osvaldo Bido, another guy that probably just needs that little bit more work before he comes up here. Mike Burrows just got injured like yesterday. So you can't really include him in that conversation anymore. And Quinn Priester is not going to be on this baseball team in 2023, I think. I just don't think he is. He's playing great. I just don't think he's going to jump over 6 different people to get in the rotation in one season. It's just not something that's very, reasonable to say.
It's too early on, and it would be irresponsible with him. So at least for this conversation of who could come up right now, he's not in that picture.
No.
Ortiz, you could if you want to just trust that he knows that changeup enough and work it in as slowly as you can. Let him live on the slider and fastball. He's probably better than a lot of options just doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But you're walking a tightrope. Do you want to? What if you scar the kid? What if he gets shelled? I don't know. I think I'd want to just take the time to make sure he's where he needs to be. Burrows would have been my pick. But we also have, other options if you're interested, folks. You could have Tyler Chatwood. You want that?
Yep.
There's just not a lot that's ready right this second. Burrows would have been my choice. Beto would probably be my second choice because he did put in a full season of AAA last year. So I do think he's as ready as he's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where I'm at. I, in all sincerity, you're just going to have to be patient and eat some more Vince Velasquez.
Yeah.
Maybe
and
with
also,
some hot sauce to choke it down.
Yes. And on top of that, too, also keep in mind right now that Keller Contreras and Oviedo, outside of that one inning that Oviedo had in Boston, take that inning out, and he has some impressive numbers. If we're going to be real honest here, you take that first inning out of Boston, and his numbers look a lot different than what they would. Mitch Keller obviously has done good things. And looking forward to next week, which we'll do in the final segment, just also know, too, Rich Hill and Vince Velasquez can't scare you anymore, kids. The monster under the bed isn't there anymore because you're going to get Roansy Contreras, Mitch Keller, and Rich Hill against the Houston Astros. I'd be more worried. I'm skipping over stuff, so I'll hold that thought for a second about I'll give you guys my predictions for the week on what I'm going to say here, and it's going to be optimistic, Ethan. That's going to come out here instead of playing it safe, Ethan, because somebody has to put a point on the board here.
I got you.
Somebody has to put a point on the board here. But again, the pitching overall has not been that bad, but I do agree with you that it is noteworthy that if Hill and Velasquez go back-to-back like they are currently right now, the bullpen that we know as of right now through these first 9 games is not going to be the bullpen we know 60 to 70 games down the line if this just continues to happen. Because, they've done great. Dauri Moreta has been money. He has been big bank. All the nicknames you want to give the guy, he has been that so far. Colin Holderman even has done mostly okay. I think he's been fine. David Bednar has come into every game where he had a save opportunity and did his job. The bullpen has looked perfectly fine. And at some point, Vince Velasquez is going to be a part of that group. Probably. Rich Hill, I wouldn't think so. It's something where I think Rich Hill right now, as you mentioned, the guy doesn't get fazed by anything. He could give up 20 runs in a game, and he'd just still be the same old guy. He'd still throw his 70-mile-per-hour curveball up in the zone and still get it killed sometimes and still strike people out with it sometimes. It's just how it works. I
just
don't
have
know
to
what
watch
else
it
to
play
add to
out. That's all there is to it. And it's just too early to be calling for changes like that. Bob Nutting or not, you spend $8 million on a pitcher.
Yes.
You're not going to DFA him after 2 starts, especially when he's doing exactly what his resume said he would.
Yeah. And then just look at Rich Hill throughout his entire career and anything you want to do with him. And he's like, it's actually kind of scary how consistent his numbers are across the board in every facet. Yeah, it's a scary sight to see. But that was this weekend. That was the Red Sox series. Things we liked, things we didn't like, all that good stuff. Now we're gonna get into next week, but before we do that, I want to talk to you guys about So Rare. So Rare, of course, is our new sponsor here at the Locked On Pirates podcast, and it is a revolutionary fantasy baseball game and marketplace transforming fans into owners with officially licensed digital cards featuring players from across all 30 MLB teams. Unlike other fantasy baseball platforms, So Rare Managers truly own their fantasy experience. Just so you guys can see here, by the way, I actually did dabble in it. Well, you can't see it. There we go. Oh, nope. Okay. Bad ad read. Anyways, I was trying to show you guys how the app works, but I had Clayton Kershaw, David Bednar, Spencer Steer, yes, kill me, Oneil Cruz, Andrew McCutcheon, Brandon Marsh, and Zach Plesac on my team. I ranked 208th out of like 14,000 people just by picking some cards and winning rewards. Some of those rewards, by the way, very, very cool stuff. You can win like game tickets, you can win merch, you can win cards, you can win a bunch of different stuff, including money as well. So head to sorare.com/locked on. That's spelled SORARE.com to draft your team of free player cards, set your lineup, and start competing today to win epic rewards. Again, that's sorare.com/locked on to start playing today. So now, heading into this week, I kind of wish we and the Rays could switch so that everybody could get off of this crazy train thing that's going on with Tampa right now where, they're 9-0, and then you realize they played the three worst teams in baseball to start the season. Anyways, that was kind of a needless shot at the Tampa Bay Rays. But either way, it's fine. Just figured I'd mention it. Things get fun, as what I'll call it, for the Pittsburgh Pirates in terms of the teams they've seen this year already. I'm going to be honest with you, Gary. Out of the three teams the Pirates have played through the first three series, I don't see any of them making the playoffs. That's just what that was in my predictions before the season started. That has nothing to do with what's going on now. I just don't think I think the White Sox bullpen, after watching it in the series, especially that first game where they said that crazy stat where it was like 22 walks in 26 innings.
Yeah,
That's going to be their Achilles heel on top of injury issues. I mean, we didn't even see Eloy Jimenez in this series because of injuries. Andrew Benintendi, I believe, was out in this series too. Lots of different things. So now the Pirates are going to play two teams this week. And may I add, without an off day. So this will be the first full 7-game week of the year for the Pirates. The reigning defending World Series champion Houston Astros are first in Pittsburgh. Now, everybody hold your horses because Houston has a losing record right now. They're 4-6. And then, oh, wait, I'm going to tell you again, the Cardinals have a losing record too, guys. So that means the Pirates should handle business here, right? Who knows? It's going to be interesting because both of these teams are obviously very good teams. They're going to be in the playoffs by the end of the year. But I spoke about this in the offseason, that 6-3 through the first 9 really felt like something that I kept saying over the offseason, Gary, and that you even reiterated too, handling your business against teams you know you can beat. So that when a week like this comes up, say the Pirates go 2-4 this week, which I would say is a very real possibility, but that's not my prediction for the week, they still leave the week over 500.
right.
So, but on the other side of this too, and I think this is something you would like to hear me say, this should also be benchmark series for this team. How do we stack up against some of the better teams in baseball? And that's how I think we need to look into this week.
I think you want to see them hungry, man. I think you want to see them come out and fight the good fight. You don't want to see them come out and look defeated after Oneil Cruz gone down. I think there's enough veteran leadership in the room right now that that's not going to happen. They've all been there. Every single one of them can tell them a story about losing somebody big and persevering through it. And that's stuff that I don't know that they had in the room really the last couple of years. So I think they'll probably handle their business this week. I know you were talking about being optimistic and putting points on the board, but I'm probably going to go 4-3 in this little stretch.
4-3.
Yep.
Something about this Astro series really gives me the heebie-jeebies, just because of a lot of different things. One, it's an NL Central throwback, baby. We get to see the old NL Central rivalry every single year now. That was what I grew up on, is when the Astros and the Pirates were 5th and 6th in the NL Central every single year. But they were the funnest games to watch. But I do think that Rowanzi and Mitch pitching in this series on top of Rich Hill, I'll also be honest too, I don't think Rich Hill's going to have 2 bad starts in a row. I just don't. I don't see it happening unless you want to consider his first start a bad start too. But I don't think it was that bad. I could see them winning 2 or 3 against Houston. Houston's one of those teams that I feel like right now is kind of having that World Series hangover. I know it's a crazy thing to say considering that was 6 months ago almost, but it's a real thing when you play a whole extra month of baseball, pretty much.
Yeah. They got some injuries too, so.
Yeah, there's some injuries there. And then St. Louis, the Pirates always struggle in St. Louis. So I could see them winning 2 in the Astro series, and I want to call a sweep in the Astro series, but I'm not going to do it because then I know we're going to get reverse swept, and I'm going to get thrown into the algorithm as the optimistic. I'm going to get thrown into so many things. And I also wanted to say something different, Gary, but I just don't know if I could see the Pirates winning the series against the Cardinals. But there is a world where I can, so I am going to say 5-2. I'm going to. Because
it's doable, man. It is. You're right about the pitching in the Houston series. I think there's a realistic path to a sweep. I also wish that we had a little bit more of a picture of what we thought they were going to come out like. If they come out like a ball of fire, or say they slide Bay up to the leadoff spot and he just looks crazy up there, really start setting the table and changing the offense a little bit more. Who knows what's going to happen? The Cardinals aren't really firing on all cylinders.
No.
And if you think about it, their last few years, man, they're a team that does kind of take a while to get warmed up. There's some veterans there that kind of know that they can do a certain thing in April that they can't necessarily get away with in July, and some of them tend to take advantage of that, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. It would be good for the young team to put a mark on the Cardinals early here. I think it would make them feel good. I feel very optimistic saying 4-3. I think that's what they can pull off, but I could see 5-2.
And I think the reason I'm shifting towards that 5-2 is because, yes, the Cardinals are a very good team. They have a lineup that is very scary, but so far this year, every time I see highlights from a Cardinals game, it's their pitching just getting lit up like a fire on in the middle of July. I mean, they don't have pitching at all. And I'm saying that as a guy hey, their rotation the last couple years has been mostly okay, but you can't trust Jake Flaherty. You can't trust. I mean, realistically, the one guy you can mostly trust in that entire rotation right now is Jordan Montgomery. That's really it. I mean, you can't. Michaelis is never healthy anymore. Adam Wainwright.
Waino is akin to Rich Hill for me.
Yeah.
What we just said about Rich Hill, I think you can say about Waino.
Yeah.
You know what you're going to get from him. And if you're a Pirates fan, you know what he does to Pirates.
Yeah, you know what he does to Pittsburgh. Which, is he slated to play in that series? I'm sure he will. I mean,
4-game series, I'm going to go ahead and assume. I don't even need to look.
Probabilities actually say no.
Good.
It's Montgomery on Thursday, Woodford on Friday, Matz on Saturday, and Michaelis on Sunday.
Okay.
That is that actually makes me more confident in my 5-2 now, because I did not want to see them have to play Adam Wainwright so early in the year again, be up on a nice little high, and then all of a sudden, boom, 7 innings, scoreless baseball, 2 hits allowed. You guys know
Yeah.
the Adam Wainwright story already. So there's your predictions for the week. Gary, of course, will be back on Monday. But Gary, go ahead and tell everybody what you have planned for the week. You guys also know over Inside the Bucks Basement, I'll have my recap stories this week. So all that good stuff.
I have 5 thoughts tomorrow. I'll probably have a little clarity to talk to on the Oneil Cruz situation. I would imagine someone will probably have leaked out some kind of a preliminary timeline by then.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we'll pop it in, and we'll talk about all the ramifications surrounding it. And Pirates Fan Forum live on Thursdays at 5 o'clock on YouTube and Facebook. You can talk directly to us, and we will answer your questions live for about an hour. And then the actual podcast comes out on Saturday.
Yes, good stuff there. Obviously, you guys know 5 days a week over here still. We are going to at some point have a crossover with the Locked On Astros guys this week. And then I know JD is going to talk to me about a crossover over at Locked On Cardinals because we talk about MLB The Show like every day. So I know me and him will be on here at some point. Craig will be on Thursday as he always is, and we might be getting another new guest here pretty soon as well. Lots of fun stuff going on. Guys, make sure you go check out Locked On Fantasy Baseball. They're doing great things over there. And if you have Oneil Cruz in your fantasy baseball lineup, they already kind of shot me a thing about plugging them because they're going to be talking about that tomorrow on their show. So, guys, thank you so much for tuning into the Locked On Pirates podcast today here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team, your Pittsburgh Pirates, every day. My name is Ethan Smith. That's Gary Morgan, and we will see you on the flip side.